Welcome to session 2 of the Fiberglass Pool Builders webinar series. I'm Christian, and
Yep, Jason.
Yeah.
Jason Hughes.
so we're gonna get into this, get started. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share the PowerPoint presentation here. Share. We're gonna start from the beginning. I mentioned a few minutes ago that if you have questions during this session, simply hit the Q&A button that should be on your screen, either top or bottom right now, depending on how you have your Zoom display set up on your device. But you ask your questions there. We will refer to that. We'll check that screen every now and then to find out if there's anything going on. Let's talk about what we want to accomplish today while we've got a little video playing in the background, Jason. We want to, the consumer is coming to us far more educated now than they ever have been.
Yes.
And they're coming to us. It's a sales conversation. But the truth is that there's still a lot of markets where Gunite and vinyl liner still own a majority of the market. It's like that across the country. We talked about that last week, that fiberglass is growing market share, gaining market share, but vinyl and concrete still have the majority. So folks are coming to us. It's tonight where I've got vinyl in my mind already. They've done a lot of their homework online. They've researched a lot of things, but they're coming to us thinking that I'll at least explore fiberglass.
Yeah.
But I'm already thinking vinyl or concrete is better for me. And so this session is about how we have learned to handle those conversations.
Yeah.
Over time, how we've gotten better with them. And at the end of the day, this is exactly how we want the homeowner to feel. We want them to feel empowered. We want them to feel like they have all of the answers they were looking for. They have everything they need to make the most comfortable decision with the money they are about to spend.
Yeah, I think that sales has evolved over the past decade or so, especially with a lot of millennials coming on board. People are anti-salesy. When they pick up salesy in your pitch and your presentation, it's a big turnoff there. And what we want to do is we want to help. I guess a good analogy would be, we're the doctor. We want to try to work with the client and try to understand what their needs are, create a diagnosis, and then write a prescription, right? So it's really all about empathy. It's about understanding, but we also have to be careful that we're not meek. We still need to be bold. We can absolutely ask for money, and we should, but what we want to do is try to create a scenario where we're able to present the value of a product and allow the client to draw their own conclusion, which is much more powerful than we're trying to convince them that we're right. So that's the end goal. Let's empower them with the information. Let's go into this together with the idea that we're going to just find the right option for you in the end. It might end up being a fiberglass pool, and it might not. Right. And with that, we would also say that you will never hear us bash concrete pools or vinyl liner pools. We actually think they're awesome. Yeah. There's a place for them in the market. And the reality is, though, that just all we really need to do in selling fiberglass is present the value. And if we do that in the right way, most people, the majority, are going to land on a fiberglass pool in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well said. Well, this slide pretty well sums up how, the customer comes into us, the lead comes into us quite a bit still, even though.
Especially in certain markets.
Especially in certain markets.
The majority of markets.
That vinyl liner concrete may be the only option they've explored, the only option they're thinking about. Maybe heard this thing called fiberglass, thought, let me vet all three options, but I'm thinking vinyl liner concrete. Of course, when we go through the comparisons, the advantages and the benefits of fiberglass versus vinyl liner, when we successfully have the conversation with the homeowner, 9 times out of 10, 10 out of 10, I mean, we have been very successful at educating them to the point where they make the decision to go with fiberglass over vinyl and concrete.
Yeah,
we can tip the scale.
That's right. The truth is there are a lot of benefits, and what we're trying to do is really stack the value up so high that the decision just seems like an obvious one to them.
Sure. And again, not bashing vinyl or concrete. I have personally spoken with customers, and in the end, flat out said, I think concrete is the best option for you. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's not a sale for us, but that homeowner feels like we have a trusting relationship. I have answered the questions, provided the recommendation, and been willing to outright say, I don't think our product is the best thing for you on what you're trying to achieve, what you want to accomplish, how you want to use your pool in your backyard. I think concrete would be the best for you in the long run, the thing you'll be the most happy with.
Yeah.
That person goes away happy. I'm happy because I was just outright honest. It wasn't an awkward thing. We just agreed.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's explore this together.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But when we do tip the scale, man, it's an awesome feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
On both sides.
let's not deny that when all parties go away happy, it's this kind of happy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
You watch the show The Office? It's hilarious. If
Yeah,
not,
I watched enough to know it's awesome.
I found this GIF and I was like, that's perfect. So how do we do that, right? Sales best practices, and the best practices for today's market are far different than they were 10 years ago. Okay. We are avoiding salesy. We are avoiding the typical salesman. We are talking about the customer's needs. We're trying to figure out what those needs are.
Yeah, back
Trying
to the
to-
doctor analogy.
Yeah.
We're really trying to understand. We're empathizing, and we're going to try to
Yeah.
together create the best scenario.
So let's go through what we consider sales best practices.
Sure.
Things that we use on a daily basis. Features, advantages, and benefits. The FAB.
Yeah, right. I think in our industry, in fact, this isn't just our industry. Salespeople in general are guilty of explaining a feature and not ever translating that down to the day-to-day practical use for the customer, right? So what we want to do is when we explain a feature, we then want to explain the advantages, then we want to explain the benefits, and in that way, we're translating a concept like fiberglass pools are durable down to what it means to them in their daily life.
Yeah. So being able to connect to something that happens real time for them in their day-to-day living, that's the sweet spot in the conversation. When you get down to that benefits section, that's the important part.
Yeah, and we're gonna do some role plays today.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do them on the concrete side, and we're gonna do them on the vinyl side, and you'll see some of these best practices how they're applied.
Sure. All right, tactile. It's an obvious one, but we want to take the things that that allow the customer to touch, to feel, to see, to do. We want to give them the test drive experience of buying a car. Right now, we can't take a pool to their home, but maybe we have a pool here at the shop. We want them to feel how smooth the surface is. We want them to touch the gel coat finish. We want them to have and hold a sample of a cutout from a previous job. We want to. Anytime you can introduce touch and feel into the conversation, it's as if you're putting them behind the wheel of the car they're considering to buy. They get to hold the steering wheel. They get to look at the buttons, the bells, the whistles, and touch and play with everything. It always helps.
It does. It makes it real. It starts to make it real.
So it's an obvious thing, but use a tactile approach every single time. Analogies and metaphors. One of the biggest things this year is the curse of knowledge on our side.
Yeah.
So,
well, we want to, part of our role as salespeople is we are teachers. And so we have to, education is crucial. And that's how we come to create the foundation of what we're trying to build our sales presentation on. And so anything we can do to help simplify a concept or a feature. And just as an example, like we could say that a concrete pool finish is rough compared to a fiberglass pool finish. And we can say that. Then we can say, imagine walking barefoot on sandpaper or crawling on your knees on sandpaper. That takes it a step farther and helps to really help drive that point home.
Yeah. Leveraging content, this is huge. And I mentioned a few minutes ago, first of all, we've had a lot of folks join since we got started. So I'll just reiterate, if you have a question at any point, use the Q&A feature, which is in that little toolbar on the Zoom screen that's popped up. Jason's got that window open now. So if you have a question at any point, just type that in, let us know who you are, and we'll get to your questions. But leveraging content is huge because the consumers these days interact or perform their research far differently than they did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And you may have heard of the internet. But we're not talking about assignment selling just yet, but rather, a quick tip here on leveraging content in a non-salesy way is when you send the email out to confirm the meeting, right? That you're going the home visit, the site visit, or they're coming to the shop wherever your office is to discuss a potential project for their backyard. Throw a link to a video in there. Throw a link to an
Definitely.
article, something that answers even more questions, more of the most common questions that you face in those first conversations. Put that in that email and encourage them to watch or to read that ahead of time. That allows more of your conversation time to be dedicated towards much more nitty gritty questions, talking about
That's
their
right.
project in particular.
Yeah, I would say that's the biggest thing that changed for us once we really got into content marketing. Was it changed the dynamic of the sales process, because we had more and more people coming in
Yeah.
already educated. We weren't educating as much. There's always a need, but that part had already been done.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to how we can use the content in our favor, it actually can be our strongest sales tool if we use it in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
We need to use it to fill gaps in their educational gaps on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
And if we come up against a strong sales objection, one that could cost us the sale, use the right video or the right blog article in that to meet that need.
Yeah.
And let's let that do the heavy lifting. And then
Mhm.
let's just have a follow-up conversation, and a conversation after they're able to go and watch that.
Yeah. There's articles and videos out there. You might be doing them yourself. So send them what you've written. Send them a video you've shot. Send them links to our articles.
By all means,
use
our
our
content.
use our content to help sell pools in your particular market. So feel free to do that. Grab those links. Send them. Empower that homeowner so that your conversation time is more spent around their particular project, which leads us into homework, right? Assignment selling.
Sure.
So,
it ties in with leveraging the content, but it is completely appropriate and actually incredibly effective to assign a client to view particular content. So let's say we have an initial phone conversation, and we very quickly understand that they don't have a grasp on some of the benefits of fiberglass pools. They're very interested and they're willing to do this homework and research, but they just haven't taken the time to do it yet. Perfectly appropriate to say, how about this? I'm going to send you an email, and there's 2 videos in here. I'd like for you to watch those. I'm going to call you back in 3 days, and then we can pick up the conversation from there. How's that sound? Of course, they're almost always going to agree to that, and that's what we mean here by homework.
Yeah. What's our next one here? And we mentioned this. Never, 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 ever. Don't bash your competition. Even if it's the guy next door who also installs fiberglass.
And even if doesn't do a good job.
Yeah, just don't do it, because you end up looking like Homer with your head on fire. It just makes everybody look like an idiot. But the biggest thing is that the moment you bash somebody, the moment you speak negatively about your competition, you break that trust factor.
Yeah, you cross a line in the right consumer's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the type of people we most likely want to work with. It definitely does not create an atmosphere of trust or integrity in their mind.
Right. And this translates into all markets, outside of pools, but it just doesn't do anybody any good.
No, and we need to learn that as an industry. I think it's something that's a lesson that we need to incorporate.
Sure. All right. And then, of course, what we're about to get into now is overcoming objections. Jason and I are actually going to do a little role play here, and I'm going to play the part of the customer. We're going to go through concrete versus fiberglass. Then we're going to go through vinyl versus fiberglass. We're going to go through just typical questions that we are faced with in those first meetings, in those first phone calls, that during the sales process, we need to overcome their objections that are in their mind, front and center.
Absolutely.
And so we're gonna get into that. That's what the bulk of this session is going to be about. You're most likely going to have questions during this part of the session. So again, if you do, use that Q&A button, type your question, let us know who you are, and we'll answer them as we go along. So you ready to?
Yeah, well, it's important to understand too that there's a process here. There's actually a process for doing this that you can learn and implement. So, and you'll see this as we engage here shortly. But first we want to listen we just want to like not just act like we're listening, but actually hear what the person's saying, ask any follow-up questions to make sure we understand, verbally tell them that, so let me make sure I understand, you empathize with them, they know that you've heard them. Then we're gonna test an objection. We're gonna make sure that it's a real objection, and then we're gonna answer it and then confirm if we've overcome it. We're gonna have them tell us that, oh yes, we're good on that, let's move on and continue.
Yeah. So there are actually courses and books and things around these, their communication skills.
Yeah, it's
just applied to the sales process.
Yeah, in this case, I mean, there's one particular book that was an audio book that was a profound help to me. It's Overcoming Top Sales Objections. I got it on Audible. It's by like the Zig Ziglar Foundation. If anybody wants that, I can share it with you.
Yeah, I've taken trainings, before, called Listen First. I don't know if you've taken that, but the whole idea is to start the conversation with listening, and then being able to process, understand, repeat, and confirm.
Yes.
To fully grasp what means the most to the individual you're speaking with.
That's right.
But then applying that to the sales process. And so we're going to role play a little bit here. And you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let me put on a different hat. Just kidding. I like the one I'm wearing. And so we're going to go through Gunite versus fiberglass first, and then a series of questions, and then we're going to go into vinyl liner. Okay, so I know that I want to raise spa. I really want that feature with my pool, and I know I can get that with concrete. So,
Sure. So here's the thing, just as an aside before we jump in head first to this. We are going to get this from time to time when we're selling fiberglass pools. We're going to come up with with this customer, and they're going to say, I want this feature that you cannot offer. A lot of times we can, which is great. I mean, with continuing to develop out new models with new features, we can capture a lot of the market, but certainly there's going to be times where somebody wants something that we just can't give it to them. Okay, in terms of a feature, right? So it's important then is that we know how to handle that concern or that question on the front end. So Christian asks, I know I want this. We're just going to say elevated spa in the middle of the pool, whatever. And so so we're going to go with that. All right. Yep. So could you, Christian, could you tell me what it is about a spa? Why is it that you want a spa?
Well, I would like to be able to, I don't always want to be cooling off in the pool. And I don't always want to be around the kids while they're splashing and carrying on. I want to sit in a hot tub and just relax and enjoy while the kids are playing. But I don't want a separate unit, right? I don't want to have to rewire my house to accommodate another thing out on my pool deck that I have to walk over to get to. I think it looks nice if it's all tied in, the water spills over. And so I just want everything integrated.
Sure. So let me make sure I understand. You like the idea of having a hot tub that's fully integrated into the pool. You like the idea of having a separate space for hot water and cold water. And you like the idea of being able to engage like in different ways. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the fact is that even though we can offer that to them in fiberglass, in this case, we're going to, let's explore together the things that, first, let me just say that, I don't feel like that's something we can do with fiberglass, because we have, one of the disadvantages is that with fiberglass, we have to work with different shapes and sizes, and they're fixed because we build these pools on a mold. Okay. One of the advantages of concrete pool is that you can absolutely customize the shape of the pool and the contour. So what I would like to do, if it's okay with you, I'd like to kind of continue on this conversation, understanding what you're after. I feel like there's a way to get you what you're after, but it's important to me that you understand all the benefits of fiberglass. And in the end, we'll explore together whether the benefits outweigh the cons on the fiberglass side. How does that sound to you?
I'm open to that.
Okay, awesome.
Certainly.
So I think that's the segue, which then what we're doing here, Christian, is we're disarming. So we're taking the guard down, and it opens up the opportunity to continue to sell the other benefits of fiberglass.
Yeah. Not once did you say concrete is not what I want. Not once did you say concrete is a bad choice. Not once did you say.
Why didn't I say that?
Yeah. Well, because
it might be what you want.
It might be what I need.
It might actually be the right thing for you.
Right.
And so that's a big thing to swallow. That's a big pill to swallow when we're selling, but that's the truth.
Right.
Chances are you're going to get a fiberglass pool. You're going to buy it from me. Like, I already know that. But You might not, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, it's okay. The pie is big enough. There's enough there's enough leads, there's enough business, we don't have to try to convince.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to try to teach and explain and help
Right.
people clearly see the value, the benefits.
I will plug fiberglass for a second and say that as the industry has evolved and manufacturers now offer separate tanning ledges, spas, those things that can be integrated both into rectangular pools and freeform pools, so that
Absolutely.
those features can be placed anywhere around.
We
the
can
pool.
do an awful lot. Absolutely.
Yeah, just
come light years.
Just like in the concrete industry, they're integrated slightly differently, but you get the same effect. You reach the same goal, and that's available across all fiberglass manufacturers now.
You can fill in the blank. This could be, I know I want my steps on the other side,
right,
or whatever.
Right.
So that it's, this is a template for that.
Sure.
That conversation.
Right. Okay. All right. So I'm not sold yet. Let me ask you another question, Jason. I'm going to replace husband with my wife. My wife thinks fiberglass pools look cheap. I think they look okay, but she thinks they just look kind of cheap.
Okay. So tell me what it is. So let me understand how you're saying that you feel like there's not a challenge with the way the fiberglass pools look. Is that right?
Right. I think they look okay.
It's mainly your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So tell me, why do you think your wife thinks fiberglass pools look cheap?
Well, I think she thinks they look plasticky, if that could be a word.
Okay. Yeah.
It'd be, we talked about when we built the house, whether we'd put a shower stall in, like an insert,
okay,
or tile it. And of course, we tiled it.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, I actually love it when this comes up as a concern, because what it tells me that all we have to do is just get a little information out there. Basically, what we found is that, people like your wife, once she sees the projects that we've done, all those concerns go out the window.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's just a matter of, let's just sit down together. Let's look at our portfolio. I'll show you some of the high-end jobs. You'll never know whether it's a concrete pool or a fiberglass pool. You just can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
And so that to me is very promising, because I think we'll be able to overcome that very easily.
Right. All right. Well, let's take a look at some of those photos.
Let's do it.
Let's check it out. All right. Next up, and again, these are the more common things that come up from the consumers towards us. You maybe your questions or your conversations may start differently, and we'd love for you to share that. That Facebook group would be a good way to do that. So I thought fiberglass would be less expensive.
Yeah.
Kind of a head scratch moment for the consumer.
Sure. So first off, let me just say that you're not alone, that there's a stigma out there, that we hear that from time to time, that people kind of come in when they're first doing their research, and there's a notion out there that fiberglass pools should cost less. And I think there's a lot of reasons why. I think, you see it on the side of the road. You may have been to areas in the country where there's a lot of maybe rental homes that have a lot of, older, like, pools from the 90s, put in white pools with gray concrete that actually do look cheap. But, there's different reasons, but why you might feel that way, but you're not alone. And so, there's, what I would say is, let's talk about what you mean by expensive. So when you say you thought there would be less expensive, what do you mean by that?
I'm talking about how much money I need to pay to have this thing installed.
Sure.
Right
on.
I just had no notion that fiberglass would be less expensive than I just talked to a concrete guy, and you're 10 grand higher.
Yeah, right on. We are. And here's what I'd like to do. First off, let me just say, I understand how you feel. I'd had lots of other people initially who felt the same way, and that as I was able to show them the benefits and the value of fiberglass, they found that, they understood why the cost wasn't what they initially thought it was, but they absolutely thought that it was worth at least what we were charging.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that is a process called feel, felt, found. So I understand how you feel. We've had other people who felt the same way, and they found differently after we were able to show them the benefits. So I would use that in this case with you. And then I would go on to, if that didn't, we would then continue to go on this conversation about the values and the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we would, and we're off the role play here, but I'm more explaining, but we would definitely go into what we mean by expensive. So we talk about short-term, long-term cost there.
Yeah. Okay. Good one. In there are certainly lots of other benefits, advantages, and benefits to fiberglass pools over gunite. So, and again, more reasons why fiberglass would or could be a good fit or a better fit versus gunite to a lot of homeowners. And these are not bullet points that you should rapid fire at the
Correct.
end of the conversation or at any point in the conversation, but rather things that you need to be able to tie into your responses
Yeah.
and segue the customer into another bit of information that is obvious that they have not gotten just yet.
Perfect. So let's take this last slide, this last question that we went into, and is it okay if I go ahead and explain some of these benefits to you now?
Mm-hmm.
So, um, when we talk about fiberglass pools, there are some real benefits that people find, and one of those is a lot of people have not considered just the install process. And I don't want to make it sound bad. I don't want to make it sound super painful, but honestly, having a pool installed in your backyard is stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a lot of mess. There's people back there. If you've got a dog, you really want to keep the dog from tracking mud in the house. You want to make sure, the kids are protected, neighbors are protected. So there's a stress level involved there. It's
Sure.
just a reality. So, but, have you ever thought about the fact that a concrete pool takes, roughly 3 to 6 months to construct?
Yeah, it actually a friend of mine has one. It took him six months, I guess.
Yeah, and that's on the
somewhere.
extreme side. I mean, typically it's usually somewhere in the 3 to 4 month time
Yeah,
frame.
oh, it's some weather challenges too. Yeah. Okay.
That's a long time to worry about the dog. That's a long time to have just people in your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So compare that to a fiberglass pool when our average installation time is 3 to 4 weeks. So we've taken what we might consider to be a little bit of discomfort and we've minimized that to the point where it's you almost don't even feel it. By the time
Right.
it starts to get old with you, it's
Right.
already over. But take that, and so every week that goes by, as you start to run into from weeks to months,
Mm-hmm.
the stress goes up exponentially.
Yeah. So let me pause and point out that what you did there was you didn't just say fiberglass goes in the ground faster. You didn't just say the project time is shorter. You took it one step further and you applied a benefit
Yeah,
to me and you
that's
connected
right.
it to the fact that I'm a pet owner and I have a dog and I have young children. And so, it's going to be a hassle to keep the dog out of there when the dog's been running around free to roam. And now I have to, every time I take the dog out, I've got to put the dog on a leash now.
Yeah,
And I don't have the worry of my kids getting into a part of the construction that they shouldn't. And so you have taken the thing and applied it to a real life scenario specifically for me.
yeah.
In that situation.
That's the power of taking the time to truly explain the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
When you make it real to them in their daily life, honestly, at the end of this conversation,
Yeah.
that scale is tipped.
Yeah, and there are benefits way earlier in the process uh, than just them getting to sit in the pool and
Sure,
the
that's right.
the maintenance process. There are benefits at every stage in the process, and you need to be able
Correct.
to tap into those. All right,
Right.
smooth finish. Of course, we talked about it earlier, but the benefit there is that it's going to be gentle on your skin, your feet. Right, you're not going to have the bloody toe issue at the beginning of summertime. If you've got little ones, you're not, and you're on your knees, kind of working with them, teaching them to swim or just be comfortable in the water. It's not going to be rough on you.
Yeah. So Christian, let me just, if we could, we'll go through. I want to share something with you. So what I want you to do is imagine the fact that when you're in your pool, at least 80% of your body is exposed to that pool surface. You're at the bottom of your feet, your knees, your kids' knees, their toes. Now I want you to hold a piece of this plaster in your hand. Now feel that. Feel how rough that is. Now it's a great surface. It's pretty durable. It's been used for eons. It's a great pool finish. But now feel this gel coat surface of a fiberglass pool.
Right.
Now imagine your body actually coming in contact with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's integrating that tactile and also explaining the benefit in the terms that it translates to your experience in the pool.
Right. Very good. Controlled manufacturing.
Sure. So a lot of the things that become challenges, both with concrete and vinyl pools, are eliminated when we're talking about fiberglass. So in the concrete world, turn your lights on at night, you're going to probably see some trowel marks in your plaster finish. That pool was built outside where it can rain, where you can experience severe weather conditions, and where it's a lot more subject to human error. In our manufacturing facility, it never rains. It's always about 70 degrees in there.
Mhm.
And we've got the process in a controlled environment.
Mhm.
So a lot of these other factors now go out of the window. And so from your standpoint as a pool owner, it means that you have a higher likelihood of getting a near perfect product.
Okay. So you build these things indoors. I
We
always
better.
wondered. I always wonder how they were built. All right. There's another one.
So a warranty on a concrete pool is basically relies on the pool builder. So your average warranty is a year. I mean, there's builders out there that offer, and they offer a more robust warranty than that. But the beauty is, the question is, what is the warranty on the pool shell? So it could be a year. It could be, who knows, on your it's all over the place in the concrete world. But with us, we have a guaranteed lifetime warranty on the structure of the pool every time, period. Now, so long as that pool is installed correctly and maintained correctly, that lifetime warranty is always in place.
Okay.
Low maintenance, we've talked about this, but truly we make this real for them. We talk about the fact that with the concrete pool surface, you will need to broom that surface. You will use more chemicals. It will take more of your time. And all the rumors about fiberglass pools are true. They're not maintenance free. It's actually, a big detriment to sell them that way, because they're not, but they are by far the lowest maintenance pool that you can own.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And for ownership costs, I mean, we're understanding from a cost standpoint.
I'm sold, by the way. I'm sold, by the way.
Get out your checkbook, buddy. From an ownership standpoint, we're not going to have to worry about investing, 15 grand in that pool, 10, 15 years from now. Just, you should not put a dime into a fiberglass pool shell for decades. You shouldn't have to worry about anything.
Right. Okay. All right. So that was concrete v fiberglass.
Yeah.
We talked about the benefits there. And again, we never once said concrete's a bad decision. That's not what you want. Don't do that. We never applied a negative comment in response to the customer's inquiry. We simply compared the advantages, the benefits of fiberglass, and every single chance we got connected it to something personal with that consumer. Okay. All right. Let's talk about vinyl v fiberglass. Okay.
All right.
I'm going to fade that vinyl sample out so the text will show up here. But the first question I have is, I could get a bigger pool for less. I mean, fiberglass just seems expensive.
Sure. So let's talk about let's focus on the price side of this for a minute. Okay. So it's important that I understand what you mean by expensive. So what do you, like when you say that they seem more expensive, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I could get more bang for my buck.
Okay.
So you mean I can get a bigger pool for less money than I can with fiberglass.
Okay. So you're talking about on the front end, your initial cost,
right?
You can get in a vinyl pool for
right.
less money, right? That's
right.
In most cases, you're absolutely right about that. But let me ask you another question. With regards to the features that you want in your pool, do you think you want a pool within a vinyl pool, or do you want your pool to have an integrated tanning ledge? Is that a feature you want?
Well, I'm not really all that interested in the features. I don't think I'm not interested in upgrades. I just need a pool. I need to put my kids in it.
Okay.
And swim.
All right. Do you think you might want a pool that has white plastic steps that stick out from the pool?
How am I going to get in it?
Well, we can get you some steps. So what I'm driving at here, Christian, is that we need to take a look at that initial cost. All right. So the features in a vinyl pool, there are upgrades. So if you wanted a feature like a tanning ledge or steps that are integrated into the pool that you don't see sticking out, then all these things drive that initial cost up. So it may be that your initial price for a vinyl pool, by the time you get what you want and the look that you're looking for, it may not be that different than a fiberglass pool. It may not be the case. You're going to have to tell me, but you might want to just get in, the most pool that you can on the front end, and you're not too worried about the aesthetics.
So, I mean, I'd love to have a tanning ledge, but so you're saying that's an upgrade for the vinyl liner pool.
Yes.
We're just going to kind of forgo that.
Yeah. So when we're still talking about our initial price here,
right.
The beauty of fiberglass is that's integrated into the pool at no extra charge.
Really?
So it's like a free upgrade, right? So we have our models, they're fixed. And what we do when we create a new model, we create our models from scratch. And we feel like we've got a pretty good understanding of what the consumer wants. So take a tanning ledge, for example. Might not be something you ever considered, but man, I'm telling you, they're awesome. And maybe you want a pool with a tanning ledge. And let's say you end up there, you want your steps to be integrated into the pool so that they don't stick out as white plastic steps that stand out, as an eyesore. Well, all these things are part of the fiberglass package. So we integrate them into the pool. We build one mold, we build that pool over and over again. So it's already part of the deal.
Okay.
So we'll see where we land on the initial price, but that's only one part of the equation. On the second part, when we talk about cost, have you ever thought about how much it'll cost to own a pool for the next 10, 15 years?
Well, I know I'm going to have to spend money on maintenance. I mean, I certainly get that.
Sure.
But how much it costs to maintain the pool, I'm not certain.
Sure. Well, you probably know that the liner in a vinyl liner pool will need to be replaced. You're familiar with that, right?
Yeah, I assume that would happen. I mean, I know they're not going to last forever. Nothing does.
Sure. So let me ask you a question. How long do you see yourself being in your home, the home you're going to build this pool in?
The kids just got started in middle school and then high school, college, 10, 12 years from now.
Okay. So 10, 12 years. So what we found is that on average, today's liners will last somewhere between 5 and 9 years. And the cost of that liner replacement, when you figure in water, chemicals, is somewhere usually starting around $4K. And if you get custom features like the integrated tanning ledge or the vinyl that covers the steps so that you don't see them, that could drive that liner replacement cost north of $6,000.
I didn't even think about the water.
Yeah, well, there's a cost there. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, whoever's replacing that liner will ask you to buy water so that they don't have to babysit that pool as it fills up. So, and then there's obviously the cost to replace the chemicals. So, let's just say on average, you might spend $5,000 every 6 years or 7 years. Let's say you're going to stay in your house for 15 years or so. So you're looking at an additional, let's just say $10K in cost. So I don't know about you, but I don't want to be on the hook for, a 5K hit every 7 years, 6 years. It doesn't sit well with me. And most of our customers have found the same thing. And that's ways into why a lot of people who initially considered vinyl, ultimately, it's one of the factors that help them choose to go with a fiberglass pool. So, but the point is, when we think about cost, because I wouldn't be doing my job right if you didn't understand exactly what you're getting into. So I have to make sure that whatever product you get, that exactly what's going to happen down the road. And if we really want to think about cost, we can't just look at initial cost. We have to look at lifetime cost. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense. You're pretty good. I can feel my wallet loosening a little bit.
We're just getting started, man.
All right. So I could get a tanning ledge with vinyl. Why would I consider fiberglass?
Right. So that's a good question. And this is a relevant question today as tanning ledges are really becoming more and more popular, right? So yes, you can get a tanning ledge integrated into a vinyl pool. And what we found is that those manufacturers of that liner, they do make that material thicker on those ledges, but it's really not a good idea to put furniture on those ledges. Is that something that you were thinking?
Yeah. I mean, my wife doesn't want to lay flat on it. She wants to be able to sit there and sip her beverage and keep an eye on the kids. And
so just think about if you've got a floor surface at home, think about your couch or chair and how it scoots over the years in the same place over and over again.
I got to refinish my floors now.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat, actually. So bamboo was great, by the way, but I don't think I'll do bamboo again. But it's the same principle with a vinyl pool. So, a ledge lounger, one of those, a chaise lounge that's integrated into the pool over the years, scuffing on that vinyl, not something that you're going to want. How about dogs? I know you got a German Shepherd. Did you think he'd be using the pool?
Oh, I'm sure he'll get in there whether I want him to or not.
Sure. Right. I'm in the same boat. I've got a crazy dog at home. So, pets, dogs, and furniture really aren't ideal for a vinyl liner tanning ledge. So those are some things to think about. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. We kind of threw him for a loop because we had put that, a lot of times this question comes in with cost as well, right, which we kind of addressed in the last question. And then the durability aspect of it is often where that conversation will go when they come in thinking about, I need a tanning ledge and I think I want a vinyl liner pool. Why would I go with fiberglass? So that question could go in two directions to start and easily bring around to that second piece, either for the pets or furniture, and then the cost of those features overall.
Right. Great point.
So And then, of course, you've got this guy. Everybody has had this guy come into the shop or call. I want a 20 by 40 with a deep end.
Yeah. So we might call this guy like the cowboy. He just comes in. I want a 20 by 40 with a deep end. So what is all he knows is he wants the biggest pool he can get. He doesn't.
That's right.
So let's have that conversation.
Okay.
So you mind hitting the slide there for me?
Oh, yeah.
So let's start off with why do you feel like 20 by 40 is the number for you?
Well, buddy of mine down in Carolina's got a pool, and his is 20 by 40, and he's got 3 boys. I've got 4 boys, and tearing my house up. I need to give them something to do.
Okay, all right. So
they need a room to. I want to put something in for them to play in, and something that they won't outgrow.
Sure. So make sure I understand. So first off, you got 4 boys. There's 3 boys.
I've got 3 in real life, but for the sake of this, 4.
Yeah, 4. And so you want to make sure that the pool you buy for your family is big enough to meet your needs. Is that really that's a real concern? Right?
Yeah, they've got to be able to dive in and jump, and so I don't want them hitting their head on the bottom. So need a deep end.
Sure, absolutely. So let's do this. First off, I understand what you're saying. We've had a lot of people come in and we want just the biggest pool that we can get, and we can get you a pool that's big enough for your family's needs. I need to talk to you for a second about fiberglass pools and the way that the width works. Okay, so you might not know, but a fiberglass pool, our max width that we can provide is 16 feet.
That's what I've heard.
16 feet, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're still having a conversation. So you still showed up today.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that there's still some things with fiberglass that you do see some value there. But do you know why it's 16 feet wide?
Probably because you got to get it down the road.
We got to haul it down the road. That's right. So, we've got some width limitations. So 16 wide is the widest pool that you're going to get. And so here's, the question is, and I'm not trying to convince you of anything. This is a genuine question. Is it possible that you could have a pool that's 16 wide? You don't have to answer this right now, but is it possible that a 16-foot wide pool could be big enough for your family? Is that possible?
I suppose.
Okay. So let me just tell you that you got 4 kids. I've got 7 kids, 5 boys and 2 girls. And, we have friends over and cousins, and my pool is 16 by 36. I've had it in the ground for years,
mm-hmm.
and we lack nothing. And we've had, I can't tell you how many hundreds of people we've had over at my house. And there's never been one instance where anybody has ever said, you think you'd get a bigger pool for this family. There's a reason for that. It's because the pool is actually the perfect size for my family. When we use the pool, we enjoy it. And actually sometimes, smaller pools are easier to maintain. I love the fact that I don't have I've got a pool that's just big enough for my family. Maybe a 40 is the right fit for you, but a 16 by 36 is the right size for my family. It's not a maintenance nightmare. It's plenty big. We can have friends over. It's just a great overall experience. So, and then we've also had the opportunity to install, 1,300 pools over the years. And we've never once had a single customer come to us and say, I bought that pool. I just wish I wish my pool were wider than 16 feet. It's just too small for me. Never happened.
So you've never had your family in the pool and felt cramped or out of space, or?
It's just not been our experience.
Okay.
I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm just saying 1,300 customers in, and based on my own experience, it's just, 16 wide is all we want.
Okay. All right. Let's hit the next one. So we're going to get into the comparisons, or not comparisons rather, but the additional advantages and benefits fiberglass over vinyl. And again, these are things that you incorporate into the conversation as it's happening, rather than a rapid fire list of things that comes out all at once, because that can be like drinking from the fire hydrant.
Yeah, and it is.
Just reiterate that a different way.
Absolutely.
And I know we're running slightly over, but we're going to be wrapping this up here in a few minutes. So talk us through, Jason. You're still trying to sell me a fiberglass pool here.
So let's continue that conversation about the concern that you have that pool might not be a 16-foot wide pool might not be wide enough for you. So again, we go into the installation process. Some of these are going to be redundant from the concrete pool conversation. So on the vinyl side, there's not as much of a difference, but certainly it takes on average longer to install a vinyl pool than it does, a fiberglass pool. And so when we're having this conversation in April, like it is right now, and they're trying to swim and we're backlogged until whatever, let's say early May, that difference of 2-3 weeks, we can help them understand the difference in 2 or 3 weeks of summertime, of swimming, of
Mm-hmm.
actual active swim time and using their pool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we translate this, which something that might not even register as a benefit to them. We could talk about, man, we can get you in for the 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can get you there. And so we can help translate even the small things. We can really help translate the benefit of that. And this would be the case
Sure.
in the vinyl instance on the installation time.
Yeah. So again, you just applied a real life scenario. Man, I'd love to have the barbecue 4th of July weekend. You telling me that I would be able to do that
So,
because fiberglass
well,
goes in faster.
we're always tempted to say that, but typically as pool salespeople, we don't promise the 4th of July. I probably would not say 4th of July. I would say there's a value to
Sure.
3 weeks of swim, 2 weeks of swim time, 1 week of swim time, whatever that difference is.
Okay. So can you get it in by the 4th of July?
That's actually a good question. I would not commit to doing that. I would say, and we don't. I would say, look, this is the date if I did that for you, I can tell you that we're gonna do our absolute best, and that we should, but I can't promise you because we don't know what's gonna happen with rain, your building permit, blah blah blah.
Right. Okay. All right. Next up, durability.
Durability, big one on the vinyl side, right?
We touched on this earlier.
We did. So, this ties in with the fact that we've got dogs, we've got furniture, we have the expense, and the fact that one real benefit on the way I see it anyway is that there's peace of mind. You don't have to worry about a tree limb falling in the pool. You don't have to worry about a lawn chair blowing in the pool during a thunderstorm. Either one of those events could turn into a $4,000 to $6,000 hit for that customer.
Okay. All right. Year-round install. You and I have put a few vinyls in the dead of winter.
Yeah.
In the early days of this company, and so talk about that.
Yeah. Well, we were the guys like unfolding the liner on the on the truck dashboard, cutting the defrost on in February, so we could try to get a liner in on a 55-degree day. So the beauty is that we don't have to shut down installs unless the ground is frozen solid. But you can, from the consumer side, it gives us more opportunities to put more pools in so that their pool is ready for them in the spring when they're ready to swim. On the builder side, you can generate revenue basically year round.
Yeah, which is a big one. You're not having to shut down operations, just because of the weather necessarily, or for an entire season rather. Of course, you have to shut down for weather at times, but all right, factory warranty. This is actually a pretty big one on the vinyl side.
It is.
Vinyl offers a factory warranty, but it's drastically different than the fiberglass side.
Yeah. And if you break down a warranty on a vinyl liner pool, there's just not much there, honestly. So you got the warranty on the liner. If you've ever read through that, you understand that they might call it a 20-year warranty, but it's maybe 1 to 3 years, covered in the seams, and then prorated after that. Rarely do the seams leak. It's usually some other issue. So, very, very meager liner warranty itself. Then you've got a separate warranty on the wall panels that you bolt together. It's a convoluted scenario without great coverage. You contrast that with the fiberglass pool. One, cohesive, robust warranty, lifetime structural warranty, period. The pool's installed right and it's maintained right, meaning don't drain it without a supervised or authorized person draining the pool, lifetime warranty. If it breaks, we fix it, period. So that's a big selling point in the fact that, if and when things go wrong down the road, that gives them some security in knowing their pool will be taken care of.
Okay. All right. Low maintenance, of course.
Low maintenance. Yeah. And there's, vinyl pools are not the maintenance. They don't have the burden that we would have on a concrete pool, but there is some aspects of it that do make it easier to maintain it. And a lot of it, honestly, is just the fact that typically they're smaller pools. There's not a lot of areas of the pools with not a lot of dead zones. We pretty much are working within a rectangular shape, which allows for great circulation. There are areas in vinyl pools where, especially on the steps where, the liner seams to the step, there's some plastics there with some covers on it. Algae can tend to grow behind these in these unseen areas. And so any algae in the water does breed more algae growth because the water's not circulating there. That tends to grow. Not a major issue, but it is a factor.
Okay. And ownership costs.
Yeah, we covered this one pretty well,
We did.
but yeah, huge benefits there.
All right. Well, let me pull
Are you
out the
sold?
old wallet here, and yeah. And again, you just feel good at the end of this process, the end of
Yeah.
this conversation, when the consumer can see the benefit to them personally in their day to day life, they feel excited. They get fired up. I really went through as many office gifts as I could find uh, on a rerun kick right now, but you feel good at the end of it. The homeowner feels excited at the end of it. You get a sale, you know, all is good. This has been fun, man.
Oh, it's been great.
This has been good. Good information. I think it's good. We do this on a day to day basis, but I think it's good for us to sit down and role play. I think we should probably even go back to our own sales team and practice some of these conversations as the season's getting fired up, because it really comes down to communication skills and techniques and your ability to listen, understand, get to the root of what the consumer is thinking, or what they are looking to get out of it, and then apply a benefit.
Yeah, and repetition is huge. After you have the same conversation 100, 200 times,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes second nature. And what you're doing is you're not thinking as much about that. You're able to really go into more depth. And instead of thinking about what you're going to say maybe the next time,
Mm-hmm.
you're actually really listening
Yeah.
to what the person's saying.
Yeah. So get those skills up. Okay, so that's the end of this session. We've got, again, we mentioned last month, the Fiberglass Pool Builders group by River Pools on Facebook. And we want to, again, use this as a platform for you guys to ask questions. We want you to brag about your work. We want to see your jobs. We want to see what you're doing. We want to allow you a way to ask us questions between sessions, or just it's something you may run into in the job site, just encounter, like, how in the heck should I solve this problem?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
a great platform to do that on. And we're going to give you a little incentive to join. You're going to get the email with this recorded session within a day or so, once we get it uploaded offline and get everything, all the components tied together. But in that email, we're going to have a button that says join the group. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to take a look next Wednesday. We're going to do a random drawing. If you have joined the group, that's how you enter. But we're going to pick somebody who's joined, and we're going to send them a sweet River Pools, an official River Pools Yeti cup.
Whoop, whoop.
And we've got some cool stickers here to go along with that. So that's a pretty good incentive. That Yeti cup will hold ice for, like, I don't know, 72 days. It'll keep your coffee hot for a year. I don't know.
Yeah, they're awesome.
But they're pretty sweet. So join the group, and between now and next Wednesday, and we'll pick a name at random to get the Yeti cup, to get some stickers.
Yeah.
And then tune in next month, first Wednesday in May at 11 a.m. for our third session in this series. And we're going to title this one River Hacks.
River Hacks.
So we're going to take all the tips and tricks that we have come up with over the years, just to make things more efficient
on an install side, mainly.
On the install side,
but maybe anything else too.
Yeah, anything that just makes our time more efficient, from the time we pull out in the morning until we return after the job is complete. And we want to see what your hacks are too, right? So
absolutely.
Maybe you came up with a very fast way to, I don't know, install a return fitting. Maybe you've got a jig, a rig, something you've come up with. Maybe you've modified a drill to do something kind of crazy. I don't know. Everybody has a level of ingenuity in them. And so we would like you guys to post those inside the group, because we're going to pick a few that seem just amazing. And we're going to feature those in next month's session as well. And then we're going to share our tips and tricks and anything you could think of, from how you organize the truck, how you, how do you charge your batteries quickly at the job site? I mean, who knows?
Opportunities are endless.
Yeah. And so we're going to share ours. We'd love for you to share yours in the Facebook group this coming month, and we're going to pick a few to highlight in next month's session. And it's perfect timing to go over these things, because the business is going to be picking up in the coming weeks, and time is money. And we want to work fast and efficient. Time is money, but the faster that homeowner swims, the more comfort they have knowing the job is done, their investment was well made, and there's nothing like seeing a smile on a customer's face when they get to jump in that pool for the first time. And that's what it's all about right there.
That's what it's all about. And sometimes you might just walk away with one thing, but this one thing might revolutionize your company. You never really know.
Okay. All right. That is the end of this session. Hopefully, we gave you a little more skills or some things to think about and incorporate into your sales process. Christian with River Pools.
Yep.
This is Jason.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you guys next month. Take care.